Hello, welcome. Thanks for joining us. You're tuned to The Leg Up, your weekly thoroughbred preview podcast. And it's a pleasure to welcome back. We're full house today. Stephen Hunt, you're back on deck, thank God.
Full house at home.
Yeah, how's the sleep patterns?
Yeah, not too bad, too bad. Parental leave last 2 weeks, but Sadie's healthy and eating and sleeping well, and the mother's doing well as well. So
Very good.
All good.
Very good. Do you manage to sneak any race viewing in that sort of 2 week period? Manage to catch a race?
Does the Pope have a balcony? Yeah, no, I did.
Yeah.
And it's hard to miss this time of the year. You had the key lead-up races from last Saturday, heading towards a derby, La Creek. Gee, we've had some fantastic Guineas winners. To illicit, albeit the Waikato Guineas a few years back. She dominated that field over 2,000 metres. La Creek did a similar in terms of a devastating win at the top of the straight, just peeled off the leaders, kicked away to win by just under 4 lengths. Figures were very strong in terms of a group race for a 3-year-old staying event. And Pinarello in the last really stood up to be the second elite when it comes to the derby. And just on raw figures, La Creek, 4 lengths superior v Pinarello, who won the 65. But look, that's just on raw figures. You take the weights into calculation. Pinarello had a couple more kegs than what La Creek carried on Saturday. And in fairness, Pinarello, in terms of the race winners on the day, was the fastest last closing sectional 200 metres. So fascinating contest when we head towards the derby in what, just over a week's time. Currently the market, $2.20 La Creek for the filly, $4.20 for Pinarello.
We lost the perfect pink, didn't we, during the week? So we lost her. She's
bound,
apparently.
Yeah, just going to take on the fillies. There'll be no La Creek from all accounts. Win, lose or draw in the derby. And again, back to her own sex, where she was a dominant 1,000 Guineas winner in November. And just on the fillies, Marcella, we finally got the Oaks Prelude on the way at Pukekohe on Wednesday. Marcella, look, that race dropped back from the original 1,800 metre distance to 16, which it fell perfectly for Marcella. And she just had to replicate what she produced in the Karaka Classic, even though she was a beaten, I think, 5th or 6th in that key race on Karaka Million Night. Look, we'll bring the boys in here shortly, but it's an interesting run around Marcella, because she is a bit out of a Zabeel mare, and you go back towards the 2nd and 3rd dam. It's a fantastic Cambridge stud family line, but look, she's in calculation for the Live-In Classic as well as the Oaks, and just from what I've seen her, the daughter of Efrage, over 1,600, how devastating she is on speed, I'd be leaning personally, if she was my filly, towards a Live-In Classic, take on the boys, v the staying endurance at Trentham on the same day. So be interesting to see which way they angle for Stephen Marsh and the team, but I'll be leaning towards a Live-In Classic v the Oaks.
That Live-In Classic might be shaping up pretty well, is it? We've got
Yeah, look, Imperatriz, whether she goes there, maybe post-Saturday, we'll see, over 1,400, but you've got On the Bubbles, the stablemate, a few other boys there, possibly a few that didn't quite get the Avondale Guineas distance might drop back to 1,600. So, but look, I think she's right up to it. Her figures are very, very good in her last 2 starts.
Okay. Let's say good morning to Paul Moati. Thanks for joining us, fresh off the links, Paul. Thanks for squeezing us in to your busy schedule. What time's the tea time this afternoon?
No, just hold back the reins there, Thad, thank you. First of all, congratulations to Steve and Sarah, well, mainly Sarah, with that ever-increasing at Hunt Racing stable that they have now.
Expensive stable.
Great news. In fact, I was driving past Parliament the other day, and I saw a sign there, make the leg up great again, get Rodley back in, and I couldn't agree more. I heard he was fantastic last week.
Look, yeah, thank you, Paul, for raising that. I can go to my the man that sticks with me, and that's Brendan Popwell, to back me up on that. Gee, he came in strong off the bench, BP, as you do in your Warriors jersey. Good morning.
Very good morning. It's interesting that sign was actually outside Parliament, nicely found there, Paul Moati, in amongst many other signs, I'm sure. Yes, what a weekend it was of racing with La Creek, just blowing them away and producing a performance that now has her the short price favourite for the Vodafone New Zealand Derby. But before we get to that race meeting, and of course that week itself in Auckland, we have 2 good meetings here in New Zealand, and they're both strong meetings, aren't they? The Matamata meeting is their big meeting for their calendar year, and of course the Group 1, the El Cheapo, where Jamie Richards from the Matamata base does have a very strong hand in the race. So, yeah, good week in front of us, and of course the Australian racing is really starting to heat up now too.
Yeah, my word it is. Well, we want to get through 5 races, so we're going to have to rattle our dags, but we don't want to start without getting your Maidener of the Week, BP. Who did you land on this week?
Well, I think there was 3 key races you could have gone for. I nearly went Privileged Son in the first race out of Pookie. But I'll go for a race where I'm just trying to look for some other horses around this race. A little bit bossy in race number 5 out of Counties is the horse we're going for, the Maiden of the week. Bosson was in great riding form, wasn't he, before he's gone on his little suspension break holiday. He was just seeing it big, wasn't he, throughout the day. I like this race. You got to like the second horse. Eyes Only on Me. Nigel Tiley gave a nice little nugget just prior to that race with the belief that she just needs a little cut in the ground and she could be a filly they could entertain taking to Brisbane. That's enough for me to say that she's a horse that won't be too far away from winning. Just had a niggly gate, caught 3 wide at a crucial stage in the race. This horse in front was able to get the sweeter trip in the race in a little bit bossy, and that runner herself just might be a horse you can go on through the grades too. So really like the race. I feel as though there's some really good form out of it with Viztown, who was placed also into 3rd position. Use it as a good form reference. I thought that one there. Race 5 out of Counties over the week.
Okay, a little bit bossy. Was good, Steve. Was good. And the second horse, very good as well. No luck.
Yeah, 100% BP's nailed the race in general. I think the day Opie worked it out, you had to be roundabout on speed. It did play a slight bias, as counties can do on a decent surface, and he worked it out early doors Opie and produced, 4 winners, I think. BP mentioned on the day. Just looking at the pedigree, you go on the dam, it's by Zavabeel, the Grand Dam by Pins, and you go back to the 3rd dam, is by O'Reilly, so it's got the Waikato stud bloodlines right throughout the dam side. So interesting to see which way the filly goes. She might stay around about those 1600 metre events, but yeah, definitely looks to be a horse that's going to go further into its preparation in terms of ratings and getting up into potentially black type.
Yeah, okay. One to follow, and BP's nailed the race as well, so follow the 2nd and 3rd horses with a bit of confidence as well. Righto, team, we want to get through 5 races, so we're going to have to rattle our dags, as I said. Big day at Matamata, and we'll be looking at 4 races there, Steve. We're going to start with the Fairview Matamata Slipper Group 3, race number 4 on the card.
You're headed by the Colt and Loose at $2.70. Well tried, but remains its opening quote. In front of Desert Lightning at $4 second elect. Time Ruler, drawn the ace here for Lee Thinnis O'Sullivan Scott combo at $5. Stimulant for Tony Pike. Has had the couple of starts down at Riccarton earlier this season at $5.50. Zahir at $8.50. Shares that 5th line with Lumber Gold. And the Rankie, or one of the Rankies, Night Raider at $31. From a short note 26 first starter for Stephen Marsh. But no clear lead here, Thad, but Andalus has been well tried at $2.70.
We're going Andalus, BP. Andalus and Dallas. Andalus. Yeah. What are we thinking?
I think Stephen Hunt might have got the word there too. That's correct, from Bruce Perry?
Yeah, I believe so. Andalus is the way we're going, and the way the connections are wanting to be pronounced, so we'll go with that way, Andalus.
Yeah, okay, we've got winning form here, BP. But we've got a horse that ran 3rd behind Wolverine. The boys have settled on Andalus. But the chances wouldn't end there, you wouldn't think.
Look, I really like this horse. He went into that race behind Wolverine just prior to Christmas. Of course, that was the Wakefield. Trialled nicely, was a horse that looked ready to go, and then just drifted massively. I'm pretty sure it might have been sort of around that $10 mark and drifted massively to around $23 and ran a race. Still ran a race, because he had a barrier draw and he was able to finish into 3rd position behind Wolverine. And as we know, Wolverine has then franked that form with what she was able to do to go through to the Eclipse and, of course, to the Karaka Million. I like his most recent trial. He just wanted to lug towards One Rain when trying to round the race off, but he was really good charging through the line, and how he ran 2nd in his trial at this venue of Tarapa recently. So I think there's good factors around him going very close here. I do like Time Ruler. I think Time Ruler from barrier number 1, with how he won 2 starts ago. Now, he beat home Gwen Stefani. He qualified for the Karaka Million by winning that particular race, by sitting on speed. Things didn't go his way with how the race was run in the Karaka Million. So, to be honest with you, I think you can just scrap the run in the Karaka Million with what unfolded there for him. He's back on his home track. He has a barrier draw of 1, and he does have the speed to use it. And he's around that $5 quote. And Desert Lightning, who really did produce a lovely turn of foot when getting the job done at a big price up north at Ruakaka for a stable that is right on form in the last couple of weeks, in Peter and Dawn Williams. So respect around that runner. But Andalus and Time Ruler are the 2 horses that get me so far in this market.
Yeah, look, Andalus was good behind Wolverine, but winning form's good form, Paul. What are your initial thoughts here in the slipper?
Yeah, I sort of agree with BP here. I really do like the look of Time Ruler, as he said. Gets the one draw, Leith and us on. That was a tough run in the Karaka Million, so I'm very happy to, at the price, at the $5 mark, to have a little stab at Time Ruler. And I didn't mind the look of number 6, Alabama Gold. It was a nice run, I thought, on Karaka Million night. I know a slightly wide draw, but it's only a small field, so I'm sure they'll be able to slot in fairly close to the speed. And I just like the way that Alabama Gold has been going. I think the Orchard Shayla team have got it ready to go. So, yeah, I agree with BP. Time Ruler, definitely. But I thought Alabama Gold might be there or thereabouts as well.
Alabama Gold, 8.5. Steve, you settled on Andalus. I won't say a surprise favourite, but went out $23 on debut. How'd you settle on this market?
You're a 2-year-old. I don't want to really focus on the SPs. A lot of horses only having one start. You just got to measure them on performances early doors rather than the SPs. Particularly horses that go into a race start without any trials, and we saw that with Desert Lightning, who went into Ruakaka without a trial leading in and did the job of a high SP. Just questioning the overall form out of Ruakaka. We saw Total Recall disappoint yesterday at Wanganui when a beaten favourite in that corresponding race at Desert Lightning was the eventual winner. So just not sure how it sits Desert Lightning going to this race. I'd like to follow the horses that have either run in the Karaka Million or in some black type performances. So look, Alabama Gold, you mentioned this horse, just covered extra ground in the Karaka Million during the outside gate. Just want to forgive it. You go back 2 starts in behind Fellini when it ran second at headquarters. Those figures are up to the mark to winning this race from the exposed form I've seen. So look, Alabama Gold, we know the stable do target races on their home track at Matamata, and Sidewinkers go on, and a son of Turn Me Loose. And look, Turn Me Loose, last 7 days, he's had a stack of winners. Messiah for Windsor Park on the move. Hell of a return. Mazzini, recent winners at Wanganui yesterday. You include Predeturn, who won at Sandown, looks to be a Guineas winner, potentially over in Australia. And Lickety Split won last Saturday at Ellerslie on Evandale Guineas Day. So a sire we're following. But Alhambra Gold, I definitely would just go back to its 2 starts and behind Fellini v the Karaka Million performance where it was off the track.
Yeah, okay. And Time Ruler comes through the same race, obviously. No luck in the Karaka Million, Time Ruler.
Yeah, just things didn't work out. I think the key around Matamata on Saturday is that I don't think it's going to be any disadvantage. How much of an advantageous area it's going to be in terms of being on speed and on the paint, I'm not sure. But I don't think it'll be a huge disadvantage if you've got a light gate or a low number gate where Time Ruler has, drawn barrier 1, a horse that can use that gate, sit on speed. I think it will definitely, as I mentioned, won't be a negative. So you just go back on potentially its performance 2 starts back when it was an impressive winner when jumping and running along. So Stimulant BP, what do you do with this horse? Tony Pike's had a couple of starts down at Riccarton. A big imposing son of Holler. Interesting pedigree there, but they're both over 800 metres. He has trialled recently and just, I wouldn't say they're eye-catching trials. He led on his most latest trial and was finished over late in the last 75 metres. What do you do with Stimulant out of the Tony Pike stable?
Yeah, well, I guess from the barrier draw, they maybe just look to ride the horse back and try and get him to be finishing over the top. Look, he's a horse who has landed on speed in those couple of runs we've seen him out of Riccarton. A very short price favourite on both occasions down. He wasn't even beaten in his most recent start down there. I just wonder with his barrier draw, they'll just let him try and relax, let him roll into the race and maybe see a chance to try and play a different card with him, with Stimulant. And if that is the case, maybe it's a tricky horse to have a bet on right now at 5.5, and maybe there could be that adjustment outwards around Stimulant. He was the one I couldn't quite work out how to sort of place him in numbers or what to try and do with him. So I'm keen to be with horses that are likelihood of being close enough to speed. So often we see that that's a good spot to be around Matamata. They've let the track a chance to breathe, of course, too, because they did move a race meeting that was down to be run there. What was the 9th of February race meeting, which was then moved to Ruakaka, and then the meeting before that, they only had one race, and then of course it was the race meeting was abandoned. So it was a busy race course leading up to that point. It's had its chance to be able to recoup, and I just wonder whether the good drying conditions, sitting in a forward position, is going to be a favourable place to be there on the weekend. So when I keep boiling it down, I'm looking towards Time Ruler using that one draw, putting itself in the race by either leading or taking a trailing position. In Andalus, maybe that one runner that can be close enough to them with the barrier draw of 3, a 1-by-1 position would be
gone.
Perfect. And yeah, maybe a horse that can around that 270 mark be a real good player as well. So, yeah, 5 and 1, 1 and 5 for me. And I think we might have actually lost the boys there. I don't know what's happened, but we've lost the team in Petone, and I don't even know if Paul Mawati can hear me.
No, I've got you. I've got you, BP. I think we're
you
back.
got me now.
I think we're back. Sorry, technical issues.
Little gremlins.
How do we bet the time ruler for you? Was it? Sorry.
That's quite all right. That's quite all right, Thad.
This is the leg up.
5.
We can do all this, can't we? This is
Look,
fine.
we can. Look, and that's the beauty of a live show is that we just seem to just keep rolling with the punches, don't we? A little bit like my Warriors. Look, I'll go 1 and 5, 5 and 1. I find them pretty hard to split, but maybe Time Ruler with where he sits at the price, if he is going to be in that forward position, could be a nice bet at around that $5 mark.
Okay, Paul, you got us there. Which way did you go in the 2-year-old slipper?
Wouldn't have happened if Aiden was here, but anyway, I'm with BP as well. I like Time Ruler for the win, so Time Ruler for the win at $5, and I like the look of Alabama Gold for a top 3 finish at $2.30.
Righto, boys. Race number 5 on the card. That's the one we're going to have a look at next. Sorry, no, it's not. Race number 6, Steve, is the next one on the card, and we're going to the Lisa Chittick Plate, where we've got a relatively short price favourite here.
Yeah, Imperatrice stepping up from the 12 to 14. A 3-year-old taking on the older fillies or older mares here at $2.30. In front of Show of Roses, who just looks well placed in the conditions of the race, $3.30. It's been shaved into $3. So overall, the punt is gravitating towards the 3-year-old filly and Imperatrice and the Class Galloper and Show of Roses. Le Crier, $6 in that third line. Our Alley Cat, $8 from a shortener of $7.50. Dragon Queen, $9. Carolino out a couple of turns, 13 to 15. On Demand, 31 out to $41. So look, overall summary in the first 36 hours of trading. Imperatrice well backed at 2.3. The early firmer sits with number 1 Show of Roses, $3.30 into $3.
Yeah, good run last time, BP, with round Imperatrice, but Show of Roses is a class mare, as we know, coming out of a Group 1 last time.
She is, and I really like her in this race. I'm not surprised by the money move around this runner to $3. And if the track is going to be playing favourable for those that are sitting on speed, well, she should find that position of either in front or outside leader. What I also like about her is where she's drawn, and it's barrier number 5. It just gives her that chance to be able to just jump, roll, and get rolling and get across them or get into that position of where they want to be, of either in front or outside leader. So I've heard Joe Surgeon talk a little bit about that, in terms of drawn barrier number 1 for her. It's sometimes not the best place to be because she has to get that early hustle where if you're drawn out of touch, you can really roll into the race and put herself and build the momentum to be able to find that position. She should be able to do that from her barrier draw of 5. Key race I like to bring in here around her is that race where she won the Kalai Zuzu Stakes, where she won from an outside gate. She went forward and got that right position with Opie Boston aboard, and she beat home Our Alley Cat, who had a sweeter run in the race. That was over 1,400 metres at Weight for Rage. Here she is, fillies and mares, set weights and penalties. She drops back from a Group 1, 1,400 metres and a better track. She just didn't like that track on her last start to the races. When it starts pushing beyond dead 6 is when the wheels start spinning a touch for her. It's not her go in life. She needs to be in that good to dead bracket. She will find that, and I find her a really nice bet. Imperatrice, the 3-year-old filly, I think she has huge respect because she has a barrier draw too to be able to play with. She bounces out of the race where she was beaten behind Sword of State, of course, in the El Manzor. She's a runner that won the Soliloquy Stakes here at this venue before going to the 1,000 guineas and finishing into 4th position. And the other key reference in the race, I think, is around Dragon Queen, who won, of course, the Westbury Classic last time out. Doesn't have the left-handed record, which is interesting for a horse who's locally trained. All her best figures and best runs have been right-handed Dragon Queen. But again, a horse off the back of a very good stakes victory last time out over this distance in this type of grade has to be respected. And I think Thad still is having a few issues with us. So, Paul, just you and me now, is it? Paulie, what's your thoughts here?
Finally, we've got the show where we want it to be, BP. I couldn't agree with you more, though, when it comes to Show of Roses. She's well weighted here. I think Joanne Surgener has got her cherry ripe, ready to go. The early money, as you say, $3.30 into $3. Would not surprise me to see her come in a wee bit more on race day. We've got a dead for at the moment. Doesn't look like there's any rain on the horizon. So I'm with you. I think Show of Roses on top is the way to go there, with Imperatriz right in behind somewhere. But number one, Show of Roses just looks like the go for me in the Lisa Chittick. Way too good.
Yeah, and I just wonder if there will be a further move in this price with where the horse now sits at $3 currently. Already had that early support from $3.30. Le Crayer was another good horse, another good run last time to the races. Is at around the $6 mark. And of course, Le Crayer does bounce out of the Westbury Classic when finishing into sixth position behind Dragon Queen. She was a horse who was really eye-catching late and when getting back in the field. And look, she's drawn better in this race. She does operate well at this distance for Ken and Bev Kelso and also Ryan Elliott. And then our Alley Cat, a horse who we just want to be able to see that turnaround in the form line, a horse who was able to gain that right run in the race. You would have thought in the Westbury Classic, just in behind Speed. Of course, prior to that, she took on Group 1 company and behind on Trivier in the Railway, and she's locally trained and she's hovering around the $7.50 mark. So $2.30 Imperatriz and Show of Roses at $3. So what would your bet be here, Paul, if you were to have maybe one stand out for you, or a little Quinella bet or Exacta maybe?
I'm very, very happy with the win here. Show of Roses number one at $3. I agree with you. I don't think we've found the bottom of the market when it comes to Show of Roses, so I'm very happy to take the $3 on Show of Roses winning tomorrow. Outside of that, look, if you wanted to take an Exacta or a Quinella with Imperatriz or maybe Le Crayers, I don't know, but I'm happy with Show of Roses for the win.
Maybe just have a quick look at that, Paulie, to see what that is actually around the Exacta with Show of Roses and also Imperatriz. And at the moment, it's sitting at $6 if you're wanting to play that way, just on an Exacta. You could get a potential of a lead trail there around those two horses. So $6 the Exacta, and also the Quinella option is there for you if you wanted to fix it in that race number 6, the Lisa Chittick Plate. All right, well, we'll bring in our other co-host now. He's back with us and his buddy there in Tony and Stephen Hunt. Welcome back, Thad. Obviously, just when you do mail us your invoice, just make sure you maybe cut a little bit off.
To Total Pros. Total Pros, I never doubted you. Just handled it beautifully, Steve.
Which race are we up to?
No, I think we're still on Imperatriz's race number 6.
I just agree what BP said, right?
Yeah, I echo those comments. $2.30 Imperatriz, that's where you settled. Show of Roses, $3.
Yeah, interesting race. Look, Imperatriz, we'll just go back on her first up performance in the Almanzor. Just the overall race shape sort of state-led on that occasion, the stablemate, who is a genuine sprinter 1,200 metre race. And for the first 600, they went 5.1 lengths below par, which really set it up for the stablemate and sort of state. He was able to dictate, control the race over 1,200 metres at Ellerslie. And then they sprint home the last 600 in 34.02. And then we saw sort of state was just in that perfect position to kick. And mathematically, it was just impossible for Imperatriz to finish over the top of sort of state, but she still produced the fastest 6, 4 and 200 metres. The extra furlong is really up her alley here, up to 1,400 metres. I think that's her sweet spot presently, particularly this campaign. I think 1,200, maybe a touch short against the elite 1,200 metre horses, V-Light sort of state, etc. But 1,400 metres, I like her over the 7 furlongs. She's got form locally at Mudda, which we saw earlier in the season. And just weighing up in terms of weight for age or set weights and penalties for the conditions of the race, she sits at a rating of 81. Now, Show of Roses sits at 101. I think that's slightly misleading. Obviously, Show of Roses is perfectly situated in terms of her high rating because the majority of horses here have a rating of 80 and below. But for a 3-year-old to get as high as 90 and above is really unseen. You win a Group 1 as a 3-year-old, you sit between 80 and 85. Right. As we see a rating for the Perfect Pink, who won the 1,000 Guineas, I think from memory, she sits at a rating of 84. So to win a Group 1 as a 3-year-old against your own sex, look, I think the ratings in terms of how the Bureau do it are well. I'm not saying there's an incorrection there, but I think it just... underlines the ability that Imperatriz may have as an older horse. I think she can get to 100 once she's a 4 or 5 year old mare.
Yeah, so the gap doesn't sort of belie their ability, if you know what I mean.
No, I don't think
in
it
this
does for a
situation.
3-year-old. It's very hard to generate your ratings above 90, even though you win a Group 1. I know Imperatriz hasn't done that, but look, I've got no doubt, even though she sits at a rating of 81, she's clearly higher than that, and we'll see that as a 4-year-old.
Yeah, okay. BP, did you get through your bets here in this race? Lisa Chittick playing. What are you doing, mate?
Look, we did. Look, we ended up coming up with some exactas, some Quinellas, and it was all centred around Show of Roses and Imperatriz. I really like Show of Roses in this race. A horse who can roll to the top. $3 may not stop there either. So yeah, pretty happy around a sort of a 1-5, 5-1 sort of a Quinella boxed, or if you're looking for the exacta, which is 1 and 5, it's $6. The Quinella 1-5 at $2.90.
You boys have gone through it, Paul. You got anything to add there on the back of that? No.
I'm jumping on board with BP here. I think Show of Roses is just so well weighted. We just have to jump on at the $3 and watch that price crumble in tomorrow morning.
Okay.
So what are we saying? Have we got the right fave, or do you see holding the price of Imperatriz and possibly them just gravitating towards 2 runners and 2 runners only?
Yeah, and I think that's it. I mean, Imperatriz has done what she's needed to do, and she has the right draw in the race, and she should be hovering around. She might get to maybe 2.5, somewhere around that mark, but there's no reason why there won't be that little tighten around Show of Roses with just what she brings to the race. I thought Stephen, with her pure class element in a 1,400 metre run over at weight for age, when she was able to beat our Alley Cat when pushing forward, she can find that favourable position. So it just looks a race where these two horses can play a serious part. I thought Le Crayere, out of that race where she was rattling home from back in the field behind Dragon Queen, was the one that could be the one that could pounce over the top of them. That could be the horse that has shown in the past that she's the one that can be a part of it. So I'm wary of Le Crayere also in the race, but yeah, Show of Roses maybe up top, maybe tough to run down.
Yeah, okay. And $3, you're happy with that, Paul, Show of Roses?
Yes, indeed. I do think we'll see her tighten in tomorrow.
Okay. Well, you've been on your game. You told us Hazard Bro was too long, and you were right. So maybe this is another one. You're seeing it like a beach ball.
Yeah, well, I think those bookies should just take a wee bit more notice of me.
Very good, very good. Righto, boys, we'll move on and hopefully we can get through a race here all together. The J. Schwab Contractors Mudda Breeders Group 2, Steve. Run us through this market.
Yeah, race dominated out of the Tiakau / Jamie Richards barn. I Choose You went up $3.20 each of 2 with Marvin Bell. There's genuine separation between the two fillies. I Choose You, $3.20 into $2.70, includes a $1,500 bet on I Choose You on Wednesday afternoon. Marvin Bell, $3.20 just out of turn to $3.30. Hanalei, the third stringer in terms of the marketplace, at $3.80, off a shorten of 3.6. Pacific Dragon, $6.50 out of 4 point to 7.5. Double figures around Val d'Isoldo at $13. And bestseller, again, a bit of money around the John Barry Train Galloper, bestseller, $21 into $16. But look, overall summary, and I think it's important, the fact that the top 3, as I mentioned, come out of the same barn. I Choose You a clear lead, $3.20 to $2.70.
Yeah, we're probably going to respect that early money because Jamie Richards, as Steve quite rightly points out, holds all the keys here, you would suggest. Not to say something down the page couldn't make its presence felt, but that money around I Choose You, very interesting, Pops.
Look, it's very similar to the Group 1 coming up down at Otaki, isn't it, where you see 3 strong runners out of the Jamie Richards barn in that Group 1, and we see it here in this race here. Maven Bell, Hanalei, and also I Choose You. Now let's first of all talk about I Choose You, who was caught wide when finishing third and was only still, half a length off them in the race that was eventually won by Wolverine in a promotion, and Pacific Dragon finishing second. She was gutsy in defeat there, and just found that one position they didn't want to be in, but she still finished into third position. Hanalei was a horse who backed up a very good second, and not quite things going her way behind Maven Bell to then come out and win the Wellesley. Maven Bell's just gone bang bang, and of course won a stakes race last time out in the Platinum Homes 2-year-old Classic. They both bring really good form. It's going to be interesting with horses land here in this race, and then you've got Pacific Dragon. Don't forget about her, because she's a horse who has a barrier draw on the weekend. We've seen her use barrier draws. You only have to go back to how she won when she beat Time Flies, of course, when holding that rail position, and then with how she ran, of course, in that race that she won on the track, yes, but then lost it in the room behind Wolverine. Her having a barrier draw gives her a prime chance in the race at around $7.50. Then Volta Zoldo, who was that second in the 2-year-old classic and bestseller with how the horse ran home in both of her race day starts. There's good depth. There's, yes, small numbers, but lots to like about the race. I find this a real head scratcher, to be honest with you. I really couldn't go one direct way on one of those 3 runners that we've spoken about out of the Jamie Richards barn, or if Pacific Dragon was to get the right run. So, yeah, I find this one a tricky one.
Yeah, it certainly is a tricky one, Paul, and I mean, there's no doubt about that when you've got 3 Te Akau runners and are all quality and we don't know where the ceilings are. So do you have a strong field one way or the other here?
Yeah, I probably should follow the early money that we've had on I Choose You, but I've decided against that, and I really do like the look of the third Te Akau runner, well, in terms of odds, Hannah Lay at 380. That was a very, very good win in the Wellesley, but I thought the run before that, the second in behind Maiden Bell, was even better, where she found a wee bit of trouble and she was just letting loose when she hit the 50-metre mark, I think, and she finished off very, very nicely past the post as well. So I really do like the look of Hannah Lay in this race at 380. Take nothing away from Maiden Bell. She's done everything that's been asked of her, and the money's on I Choose You. But I just really did like the way that Hannah Lay finished off both her races. She's looked very, very good.
Yeah. No, just a question for you, Paul. Were you prepared to go the last 40 minutes there without Steve and I, just you and Pops? Were you ready to go? Would you think you had the talent to do it?
I was just sending a text through to see if me and Pops were going to be able to split your and Steve's paycheck for this one, because if that was the case, I was ready to go the whole hour.
Exactly. You got the cash, you'd do anything. Fair enough. Steve, the 3 Te Akau runners, look, you settled on I Choose You. No, I would have thought that was quite a hard decision. I mean, I may have thought Maiden Bell might have been favourite in this race off the back of 2 wins, but you got I Choose You and you've been justified because the money has come early.
Yeah, tricky race. There was a bit of a disparity between the team who would go up fave. We went 320 each of 2, Maiden Bell, I Choose You. Early money around I Choose You, and as BP mentioned, just covered extra ground at Ellerslie when shoved in the deep end in terms of the Eclipse on its second start. Might be a touch better left-handed, just the word coming out of the stable. And they're quite happy to produce this horse left-handed v right-handed, which it went that way of going at Ellerslie, but still had the audacity to box on to third after covering extra ground in the Eclipse. So, look, she wasn't eligible for the Karaka Million, so she's had the slight freshen up. Just yet to run the numbers, but probably hasn't had the opportunity to do that. I Choose You, v Maiden Bell and Hannah Lay, and just on those two. Look, Maiden Bell, just 11 out of 10 ride from Opie Boss at Tarapa last start. Yeah. Took the trail. I know it had a decent alley, but took the trail, paired off at the top of the straight, and was too good. The winning margin was 1.5 lengths. I think it was a touch more devastating or dominant than the margin represented. I think Opie was quite kind on the filly in the last 100 metres, and the overall figure in that race was 0.4 lengths below par, but I think that's a decent figure considering what the 2-year-olds have delivered this season overall. So there's Maiden Bell, and up against Hannah Lay, the Wesley Stakes win rated 1 length inferior to Maiden Bell's Group 3 victory at Te Rapa. So look, overall, there's not much between them. It may be a popcorn kind of race for me. Just sit back and watch, and may the best potential Te Akau horse win. But just with Maiden Bell, BP, from barrier 7, Ryan Elliott does the riding. We've seen this horse not just on race day, but also at trials, have that tactical speed. I think there is potential that a position to sit outside lead if it just can't quite get across. I think this horse has got to go forward from barrier 7, put itself in the race. Do you agree there? Or?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. I think with what we've seen from her, that's the position that they'll be looking for with her, with that slight niggly barrier draw. Pacific Dragon, is she the horse that you find landing in that forward spot, drawn in barrier number 2? She's a horse who's shown that good barrier speed in previous starts. I actually thought she was a runner that maybe presents at a touch of value if she keeps pushing out, certainly if you're looking for top 3 markets with where she's going to land.
Yeah, for sure. And I think maybe the other horse that comes into the mix in terms of the map is Gwen Stefani. Look, she's the ranky here at $51 off an opening quote of 31, but from that ace draw, maybe she can hold a spot in the first furlong or two. But yeah, I agree. Just didn't work out. Pacific Dragon missed the start in the Karaka Million. You do things wrong in the first 100, 200 metres in that race, it's almost game over, and that's what it was found around Pacific Dragon. So I'm sure Tony Pike and the team will try and work that out going to this race, because as we know, historically, Mata on this day, Breeders' Slipper Day, advantageous to leaders.
Yeah, okay. BP, I want you to just touch on a couple of outsiders we're seeing a little bit of money for.
Yep.
One of them's Bestseller, who we had a stack for last time, to be fair. And the other one's Contagious, who was pretty good last time out, getting home late at Ellerslie. Both of those taking money at odds.
Contagious was unlucky. Just got in that trailing pocket and just couldn't get out. And it was a tough watch. It was death by 1,000 paper cuts if you were on. So it deserved a shot in this race, does this runner, from just a slightly niggly draw. I do like Bestseller. I like her. I think she's a horse that I'm very excited about to see her as a 3-year-old filly, in fact. She's just, in her 2 race day starts, she has done some very good things through the line. And again, it might be all just happening a little bit late for her in this race if it is an on-speed race, but she could finish 4th again. I mean, she is $2.40 to run top 4. If it was a race where there was to be some breakneck speed, and horses like Gwen Stefani and Pacific Dragon and Maiden Bell, they all go forward and there's that early rush for positions and they don't quite find their spot they're looking for, and there is good tempo on, well, it will play into the hands of a horse like this and Bestseller, who certainly does have the capability of peeling off a good late sectional. So yes, she's drawn an outside gate and she'll have to go back, but yeah, she could be a top 4 chance. Look, the only problem with a bet like that in this type of field is that we have already, before mentioning her, mentioned 5 strong chances, haven't we? 3 of them from the Jamie Richards barn. We're talking about Pacific Dragon, who can sit on speed, and we haven't even mentioned Vale d'Isolde, who was placed in a 2-year-old classic. So that's the issue you got to try and weigh up, is that is the $2.40 worthy of a top 4 bet? If she gets the right run, she's going to need things to happen. Then you're going to have to try and go past some well-credentialed horses in front of her. So that's the conundrum you might have if you are trying to play a bet like that.
So what is the bet here in the Breeders' BP? What do we do?
Do we just grab Stephen Hunt's popcorn and put it on for 2 minutes in the microwave and sit back and watch? Possibly.
Yeah,
I'm not too sure what sort of popcorn Hunt he's going for, but maybe sweet and salty. I'm not sure. Look. If I was to have one choice in the race, I would have something on Pacific Dragon just because of where she's going to land, and I'm looking sort of top 2 or top 3. If you're just talking about a pure bet in the race, I'd have something on that horse. Yeah,
okay, nice bit of each way. Pacific Dragon. Paulie, where did you settle? You sounded quite strong on one here.
Yeah, I do like the look of Hanalei, now out to 3. So on a drift out to 380, and I think if we continue to take money on the other 2 Tiako runners, I Choose You and Maven Bell, then we may see Hanalei out to 420 tomorrow. So I'll be back in Hanalei. Win.
Yeah. It'd be a race worth watching those Jamie Richards prices, though, wouldn't it? Pretty closely, just to get a sense of it all, wouldn't it?
Oh, big time, yeah. I'll be able to buy a few bags of popcorn after the race as well.
Very confident, super confident. Look, can you see the money for Contagious? Understand the money for Contagious out there at $21, Steve?
Early money, but I think it will dry up race day. Naturally, we talk about the betting profiles around Jamie Richards. Look, there's no Opie Bosson, and that made it difficult. I think if Opie would have ridden at Mata v Otaki in the Group 1, obviously he would have jumped on one of the 3 fillies, and that would have been the clear lead. We saw that in the Karaka Million, how important that can be when they've got a number of stablemates in one particular feature race, Tiako. So that's not to be. So it made it a little bit sticky, not just for us, but also for punters to dive in early. So I think they'll need that lead from Jamie, but I haven't heard Jamie throughout the week his comments around the 3, if he's got one slightly on top. But I'm sure trackside will get him on at some stage and will be able to give that slight lead to punters. But the early leaders around I Choose You, the Daughter by Am Invincible, and it's an intriguing race, but a race that, if you're not going to have an investment on Saturday, watch the race 2, 3, 4 times over, because I think the majority of these horses will be running the Sistema in a couple of weeks' time, and possibly head to Alpuni in a month's time.
Yeah, okay. No, very interesting race. It'll be intriguing to watch that market develop. Guys, race number 8 on the card. It's the next one we want to have a look at. Matamata Veterinary Services, Kaimai Stakes. Oh, gee, Steve. Chuck a dart at him here and run us through this market.
Yeah, nice race. A few up-and-comers here, including the favourite Campanessa at $3.60, off a shorten of 3.5. Now, the key about this particular race is that we have had a scratching, and that was Germanicus, who I believe will take its position in the Group 1 down at Otaki. But Even Chance comes off the bench and sits in that second line at $5 for the Murdoch team. Slave to Love, $6.50 out of turn of $7.50. Sheriff, $9. Bodes Well, $12, first of the double figure quotes. Clever Conversation also at $12. Maseto, Paisley Park, Time to Celebrate, $15 each of 3. Paisley Park defending champ. The Mitigator, 16 out to 18, but break-even results. So a little bit of interest around the Mitigator. And Joe's Legacy, best of the rest at a $21 quote. So no clear lead. Biggest single bet has been around the favourite in Campanessa, 500. We took on Wednesday afternoon from memory, Thad, at a $3.60 quote.
Boy, oh boy, Pops, talk about a betting race. There's 16 in this, and I reckon you could make a case for every single one of them and not look like a complete goose.
Yeah, it is that type of field. There is some speed runners here. There is a few horses that want to go forward. There's some runners that are going beyond a mile for the first time. So you've got little question marks and queries around some of those horses. You've got a horse like Bodes Well, who is looking for more distance and is just second up into a preparation. Off the back of, what was it, a New Zealand Cup placing, wasn't it, when finishing second, only 2 starts ago. Group 1 place getter and Maseto in amongst it. Sheriff, I thought, was good at the trials recently when finishing third. I'm keen to go for Paisley Park, a horse who won this race last year. Now, last year when Paisley Park won the race, what did he carry? He carried 53 kilograms. He carries 55 and a half on the weekend. I just thought maybe he was tracking nicely heading into this race. He's a horse who operates well on his home track. As we said, he won the race last year, beating home Pep Talk. He's got a barrier draw where he can slot in and find that position if there is to be that sort of pressure in the race when you've got horses like, the Mitigator, first of all, who likes to go forward. Camino Rocoso now is a horse that likes to go back and do his thing back from there. But the other horse, what was the other one? Oh, No Rock, No Pop is another horse in there. But yeah, yes, Even Chance, of course. Even Chance was the other horse who went forward and got the job done and is right in the market. So there looks to be the right sort of speed in the race for horses that you want to be back in that can come from back off the speed. So I just thought Paisley Park was at a good price. He's a good stayer and sits well under the weight. So yeah, I was happy to be on him each way.
Yeah, fair enough too. I mean, as I say, you can't knock anyone's decision here, which will make it nice and easy for you, Paul. When I think of races like this, I think of you. So, which way are you leaning here in the Kaimai Stakes?
I'm going for Clever Conversation. He's been doing a lot of good things up north, as shown by his victory over the mile, about 2 weeks ago. Didn't get too many favours at Ellerslie, but I think the step up to 2,000 metres should be ideal. Trudy Thornton on from the barrier too. I really like the look at it. I like the price as well at $12, I think. If not for I'll be going each way, but I think a top 3 at $3.80 does look fairly juicy for mine.
Yeah, fair enough. Good win at Ruakaka last time by Clever Conversation. Put them away relatively easy in the end. Look, Steve, tricky race, Campanessa 360, Even Chance, $5. So it's a bit of a jump up, but we've got it right in the market, Even Chance.
Yeah, similar profiles, Campanessa, Even Chance. Just back on Campanessa, the original favourite, that even though she's she's stepping up to open class, her last 2 figures have been at 74 level, and that she has produced open class figures at Te Rapa and also at Ellerslie. She carried 55 at Te Rapa, 59 at Ellerslie. She drops to the minimum here, 53 kegs. Solid winning strike rate, 4 wins from 9 starts, comes out of the right barn, Campanessa. So I think she'll be awfully hard to beat. She had a try on the interim. She just went round, left-handed. I think it was at Te Rapa in between. She'll be kept up to the mark. I think she's one of these progressive potential 2,000, 2,400 metre horses we'll see in the next 12 months. And I like that profile that she gets into this race on the minimum, Campanessa. And Even Chance, look, similar to Campanessa, ran open class figures when winning at 74 grade, carrying 58.5. again drops to 53 here. So it's running open class figures with 58 on its back. You'd think with 53 on its back, even though there's a little bit of speed in the race, it can sit handy, doesn't have to lead, it can take a sit. Best figures have been left-handed, even chance, and did beat a good sort last start in Spirit of Baz at Te Rapa. So Campanessa, even chance. I think they profile similarly because they've been winning at 74 grade with open class figures, and they're on the minimum here.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Pops, try and nail this down for us. How are you going to attack this? Obviously, Paisley Park, a little bit of each way.
Yeah, that's the way I'll be looking here. Where are we looking at the moment? Sort of 15s and 450 on the fixed, and top four $3.50. That might be a nice bet overall if you are liking something to maybe look towards that top four because it's that type of race, isn't it?
Yeah, my word it is. Yeah, the top four for clever conversation, Paul, might not be a bad way to go either.
No, but I'm a wee bit greedy, so I'll take the top three at 380. Thank you, Thad.
Very good. Yeah, very good. Okay. Well, as I say, there's so many chances here. Joe's Legacy, Steve, Time to Celebrate, Masetto. If any of them jump back into form, you could see them winning, right?
Yeah, it's tricky because, as BP mentioned at the start of previewing this race, a lot of horses have question marks. First time over 2,000 horses dropping back in trip. It's a sticky old race, so I think if you don't try and narrow it down, potentially the two horses I've mentioned, even Chance and Campanessa, you've got to take an even spread in that quaddie.
Yeah, boy, you're going to need a few for the quaddie. Freddie Field, take the stress out of your life, as Steve Davis would say. Okay, team, one more race we want to get through, and we're starting to get to the last quarter of the show, so we better get on to the Group 1 down at Otaki, Steve. The El Cheapo Cars Wait for Age Classic Group 1. And much like the 2-year-old race we looked at earlier, Jamie Richardson Tiakau holding the key.
Yeah, busy betting race, Thad, from when this market opened on Wednesday afternoon. Madalenia, we posted $2.50. We're just hitting around about 48 hours of trading, and it's out to $3. So a lot of moving parts when it comes to the trading for the boys and girls on level 2. Brando, 7 into $4.50. It's an important move for Brando. We know he had that key gear change heading into this preparation. Marcus Aurelius, $4 out of $0.50 to $4.50. Hussabro, $13 to $8 come from the south. Cinerama, $7.50 out to $8. So they're the 5 horses that sit in the single figure bracket. Mascarpone, 13 out to 16. House of Cartier, 14 out to 18. Packing Rockstar, 21 out to 31. Shares the same price as Germanicus. Vigor Winner, 21 out to 41. And Shadows Cast, 31 out to $81. So overall summary, best back runners sit with number 4 Brando, 7 into $4.50. And Hussabro, 13 to 8.
Okay, BP, how do we attack this one? We've got the 3 Jamie Richards runners at the top of that market again. We've got the White Robe winner there in Hasbro. Cinerama blew them off the track there at Hawke's Bay to Hastings last time with a devastating win from the back. And Mascarpone's there, House of Cartier. Probably not as simple as Amaralina, but and she has been easy.
She has been, hasn't she? This money for Brando... let's be honest, Stephen, we've seen money like this for him before, haven't we? He's been one of those horses where he gets identified. If he is a touch longer than where maybe he should be, or thinking from punters or those that are liking him, they love to chime into Brando. I remember a time, was it the Captain Cook or one of those races where he was opening at sort of $12 or $16, somewhere around that mark, and then of course the race never even went ahead, did it? So he's just one of these horses that gets identified rather quickly if he's a touch overs.
Yeah, you bang on about the Captain Cook. He was well played at Trentham, meeting got abandoned. They dropped back to 1400 at Te Rapa, didn't take their place in the Captain Cook when it was moved to Te Rapa. But you bang on, he has a very strong SP profile, which is a key indication to where he may start. Wait for age, he's been running in open handicap classes, but you look at the overall field, no disrespect to the connections and the horses in this race, but it's not a vintage Otaki Wait for Age. There's no Avantages or potentially Melody Bells who have dominated this race in the last 3 to 4 years. You've got 2 Group 1 winners from memory, BP, and Madalenia, albeit against her own age and sex last year, and that was her last win. And then also Shadows Cast winning the Thorndon Mile at set weights and penalties back in 2019. So a lot of these horses in the deep end and probably facing a task that they haven't come across before. Just back on Brando, just weighing up. Okay, he's been gelded. We all know that's been well documented in the last month or so. Just going back to his his very first up performance this season, back in October at Te Rapa, the Open 1200. Look, it was a good win. you weigh it up against his first up assignment at Ellerslie 2 weeks ago. 1 length superior his win at Ellerslie v his win at Te Rapa when he was presented first up back in October when he was still a colt. So there's enough to say he's improved, but I'm still not 100% convinced it's done the trick to be winning a Group 1. And saying that, you can only run against the opposition you've been given, and it's not a vintage Group 1. So, Brando, I just look at this whole race as a summary, and the first 4 or 5 in the market, you look at their figures in recent times, there's probably only 1 left between them. So I've got a very even race, and that's what the market is suggesting.
Yeah, look, I keep coming back to Amaralina because of her pure class that she has shown. A Group 1 win, yes, against her own age group. And look, even an Australian campaign, that didn't go her way, did it? Like there was a number of factors against her in her spring preparation through Sydney, and then of course, heading to Melbourne. It was just a preparation that is best forgotten with how unlucky she was in a couple of those races. She had her first up run, look, where there was a strong push that she would go very close to winning that race, of course, in the Westbury Classic, first time of asking, over 1,400 metres, which was just a distance, sharp of her best, but she was first up. 1,600 metres looks ideally suited for her. I did like her most recent trial. I like how she sat back and she really did roll into that trial beautifully. She won with a fair bit in hand, and she's a horse who's drawn well in barrier number 4. I keep coming back to her, and she might keep drifting, or is this money going to stop now? Is the Brando money going to keep moving, or is it going to dry up? He's 4.5 at the moment. If he keeps moving, well then she starts becoming a good bet around that 320 mark, 350 mark possibly, if the money keeps coming for other runners, including Brando. How do we play Mascarpone here? He's having his third run over 1,600 metres, where he's had 2 unplaced runs. I sort of look at a horse like Call Sign Mab, for instance, who raced in this race and was placed behind Avantage and those sort of horses. I mean, he is a pure Group 1 horse. He's been placed in 2 most recent Group 1 sprint races behind Levante, yes, but the most recent of them over 1,400 metres. Is he a chance of peeling this off at $16 over the 1,600 metres with where he will look to land in running? Is he a horse we're sort of forgetting a touch here?
What's with 1,400 metres, Steve? Was that what's the...
Yeah, 16 has to be the query Mascarpone, but again...
16, sorry, yeah, quite right.
It's just got a query about this whole race. I don't want to sit on the fence, but it does make it tricky. A Maddalena, just going back on a Maddalena, and BP made a good point in the Westbury. Look, the SP next to her name is $2.90, but it doesn't tell you the full story. She was a little bit soft. There was trepidation around a Maddalena. I know OP Boston came out and declared as one of his better rides on the day, Karaka Million Night. But from what we saw in the last 30 to 60 minutes leading into the Westbury, she was a little bit soft in terms of the favourites on that night.
Yep.
A Maddalena. And look, she didn't run bad. Maybe potentially looking at the overall summary, and they were speaking slightly against her. She ran up to betting expectation, just in behind the winners on that occasion. So there's got to be, from what we see in the office, there's got to be improvement. She's had a trial. She's looked good at the trial. She goes back over an extra furlong to 1,600 metres. So even though she was beaten, and there was a lot of people still that backed the $2.80, $2.90, might be hurt, but it just doesn't tell the full story.
Yeah.
I think she was just a little bit vulnerable from what we saw in the marketplace at Ellerslie first up.
Paul, give us your thoughts here on the Group 1, please. What are you thinking?
Well, that's a whole lot of support for Brando to move the price from 7 into 450. So that's usually a very good pointer. I'm looking elsewhere though. Obviously, the Southern Raider has a bro coming off the White Robe win, but I'm looking elsewhere. I'm going with Cinerama. I just, as you say, that win at Hawke's Bay, where she came from pretty much last on the turn and then just got up on the line. It sort of had parallels with Waisaki's run in the Trentham Stakes, when coming from near last on the turn and then winning in preparation for his defence of the Wellington Cup. Now, as we all know, unfortunately, that didn't go ahead. Well, I think Alan Sharrock's just got Cinerama fair dinkum rated right up to the nose, and I give Cinerama a very, very good go here. So I do like the look of the price at $8 and $2.40 for a top 3. So yeah, I think Sharrock's got one here. I think he's going to he's going to do one here. So I'll be looking for a wee bit of action tomorrow. I hope there isn't, because I'm hoping that we get a wee bit of a drift on Cinerama and we get maybe the $9 mark.
So you're each way Cinerama then. That'd be your way you'd be attacking it?
Big time.
Okay. BP, what are your thoughts here in the Group 1 if you happen to have a bet?
Look, I'm keen to hover around a Madalena just purely because she might keep moving outwards. And if she does, she becomes an attractive bet at 3.20, 3.5. And I even think she's a bet now at around that $3 mark. But just with how things are moving here in behind, she could get to that price like Paul's looking for $9 with a horse like Cinerama. So, yeah, I'll be with her just with where she sits in the race. And Marcus Aurelius, I think, is another horse we haven't mentioned, but he deserves respect. He ran fourth, of course, in the Group 1 last time out, the BCD Group Sprint behind Levante, and gets to his distance that he's been looking for, 1,600 metres. So a weight for age fourth at the sprint distance. Of course, a Copeland's winner. He's right in the marketplace too, just in there with Brando. But yeah, overall, I'll go with Emeralina.
Yeah, I don't blame BP. I think he's right. It's going to get to a point where this market switches back, and I think the Brando money, not going to dry up. Brando's going to be well supported, but I just think she's going to reach a tipping point and then potentially come back.
Well, at the moment, she's the third best back runner out of the Te Akau barn. As it stands, dollar for dollar, Marcus Aurelius is the second best back runner behind Brando. Then it becomes a Madalena if you're just directing it to the Te Akau threesome up the top there. So, no, you're right. I think there's going to be a stage where they will punt a Madalena on race day. We do see Brando a lot of money during the week. Then come race day at steady eddies. And Cinerama, I think you'll get $9-10. She's one horse earlier in her career. She was terrible results in terms of liabilities in our risk manager. But just in the last 12 months, you can be a low percentage play in the map. Cinerama. This possibly could be quite tactical. There doesn't look to be an abundance of speed. Possibly Mascarpone, Packing Rockstar, and the stablemate Vigor winner, the only three that look to go forward. But Cinerama, you may get $10. Paul.
Well, there we go. Just because of the pattern, they're going to be back in the run, but that won't worry. Our man barely standing there, Paul Moati, will be more than happy to snap up the $10 and back Alan Sherrick and Cinerama to take out the Group 1 boys. We've run out of time. I blame the technical difficulties. I'm sure we could have talked all day. It's that 5 minutes we lost there that's caught us out. We've got to go to the best bets, BP, and we're going to start with you.
All right, I'll go race number 1 out of Autaki. I do like the chances of third time round. This is a horse who comes back to a maiden race in the first race, bounces out of 2 stakes defeats, and the most recent one was behind a horse that is the $2.20 favourite for the Vodafone New Zealand Derby, and that is La Creek. This is the effort when finishing 4th behind that runner. And even the 5th, 2 starts ago, in the Wellington Guineas. So notice will drop back. Palmer aboard, 3 kilos off, down to 53 kilos, third time round in race 1. Yeah,
looks awfully well placed. I'd have to agree with you back in maiden class. Paulie, what did you settle on for your bet of the week this week?
I'm going to the Mudda Breeders and number 3, Hanalei. I think she'll be just a wee bit too good. I think that's her there, winning the Wellesley a few weeks ago. So I just like the way that she just finishes off through the line. She put them to bed there, and I think the 380 is a very nice price.
Are you 2 from 2? You 2 from 2 before your departure for golf? Feel like you are. Feel like you're going for 3 in a row here.
Yeah, that's a kiss of death, isn't it?
I wasn't meaning to put the mocker on you. Sorry. Natuzi's colours, Hanalei.
Yes.
Paul Richards, is it? Or what's the...
Yeah, he trained Natuzi.
That's
and,
right. Yeah.
I think Jamie's parents have a share in this horse. So.
Yeah. No, looks awfully... well, it's going to be interesting to watch that market with Hanalei. Paul might be right, but it's hard to know where those 2-year-olds fully sit. Steve, where did you land for your bet of the week this week?
Yeah, I'll go to Mudda, the Premier meeting on Saturday. Race 9, the rating 74, 2,000. I've been waiting for this horse to get over 1.25 miles. It's had 4 starts at 1,600 this preparation. Coming out of the Campanessa race at Ellerslie, finished 2nd in behind Campanessa. 3rd was Carolina Reaper, margin back to 4th. Best draw she has copped this preparation. Maps midfield with the informed Matt Cameron on. Mark This Daughter by Sacred Falls. It ran about a 36% chance. So no spoil on the price, but that's my best bet this Saturday.
Okay.
Waimuku Falls.
Waimuku Falls, welcome back to you. Paul, thanks for your efforts, mate. What's happening in the promotion space in inside 20 seconds? What's happening this weekend? Don't tell me we've got some more blitzes or that sort of carry on.
We've got a bonus back blitz on Saturday, a bonus back promotion on the first 4 races from Autaki, Matamata, Randwick and Caulfield. We've also got a bonus back promotion on the first 2 races from Riccarton today. So if you're watching live, don't forget, get on.
No, very good. Thanks for your efforts. Good to see you back. Thanks for joining us, BP. What about that Aussie stuff? We've got plenty of Aussie stuff. No time to talk about it, but we've got a huge weekend of racing all round.
Certainly is, yep. So tune in as we really start working towards that autumn period. And of course, next Saturday, it'll be Derby Day out of Ellerslie.
Yeah, dead right. We'll get to do that in depth next Friday, won't we, Derby?
10 o'clock. 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock, early show.
Yeah, early show, 10
We have to
o'clock.
get in early.
We've been bumped.
Bump us. Thanks, Pops. Thanks, Paul. Thanks, Steve. Thanks for well, good to see you back, rather.
Yeah, no, all good. Good to be back.
Yeah, exactly. And thank you for joining us again on The Leg Up. We'll see you in 7 days' time with a Derby preview.